Hey guys, Scott here. Today I want to talk about a not so great conversation, which is the whole fact that Dead by Daylight has been sort of bleeding players over the past basically half a year now, and how we can stop that. Now, before I go any further, I want to make it clear the game is not dying or anything like that. There's no copium or anything. The game is not even really close to dying. I consider a dead game one that you can queue into and not find players to play with anymore. That's a dead game. Is DBD ever in danger of dying? Not really, no. I think this game will last, honestly, another decade in terms of the actual definition of the game dying. But it is true that the game is bleeding players at not a super alarming rate. It's losing about 10% of the player base every 6 months. So we give that a few years, and the game will be a shell of its former self if the pattern holds up, which I don't really know why it wouldn't. But if it does, that obviously would not be great for the game. But there are a number of things we can do to address that. Now, first, we need to think about why that's the case, why people over time are leaving the game. Now, we just had a patch that, in my opinion, was very, very good. It addressed 3genning, which was a huge complaint from survivors. It addressed dead hard and self-healing speeds, which is a huge complaint from killers. I think it pretty equally tackled issues on both sides, and I thought the patch was great. And yet, people that I know, myself, is still not that excited because it's just not really anything different. And it's weird because the patch was also not really great for new players because new players basically need, let me rephrase this, the less crutches a new player has, the harder it is for a new player to enjoy. So the less, 3 gen perks, the less, giga health kits or med kits that they have, the less crutches in the game, the harder it is for a new player to enjoy it, right? So we have this scenario where new players are kind of not having as great of a time there. And also, veterans are not having that great of a time because it's just, there's nothing new really. We haven't had anything new in like 4 years. The last new gameplay mechanic we had was the endgame collapse. That was about 4 years ago. So I think if Dead by Daylight wants to stop bleeding out players, there's a couple of things they can do. One, they can go the dev curated route where they just add just entirely new mechanics. I'm talking like add a jump button or something like that. We need to like start thinking outside the box of just running around pieces of wood for 7 years straight and start adding like actually new mechanics. Again, the endgame collapse was a cool example of that. So they're capable of doing it, but we need something big like that because I think that's the only way you're going to keep veteran players interested in the game while at the same time not ostracizing the new players that start playing the game as well. And what that mechanic is, I don't know. That could be honestly anything. There's a whole just variety of things that you can do to change the core gameplay loop of the game. Adding things like generator parts. I mean, these are all suggestions you guys have heard over the years. Like, none of the stuff I could even say here would be something that you haven't heard before. But the point is, the game needs a new gameplay mechanic entirely. Not just new perks, not a new map, not a new killer. It needs a new way to play the entire game if they want to stop bleeding players. Because there's only, again, so much running around a piece of wood that you can do before you get bored of it. The thing is, though, you can take a break and come back, and it's fun for a while again. Like when I took my break for Elden Ring, and I came back, the game was honestly the most fun it had been in years. But, that wears off again in a couple of months when you realize you're still doing the same things you've been doing for a very, very long time. And that is one thing that they can do, a new gameplay mechanic entirely. I think the safer idea to honestly future-proof this game forever would be a custom server browser. You basically do what Counter-Strike does, where you can start up Counter-Strike and go play Counter-Strike, or you can queue into a custom server and go surfing. Like, just give the community tools to add stuff to the game. It would not remove players from Dead by Daylight. The only thing it would do is increase the player base of the game. And I'm kind of surprised they haven't done that. None of the mods, it would be like Left 4 Dead. If you ever played Left 4 Dead, if you queue for a match of Left 4 Dead, you go into official servers, you're not allowed to have mods. But you can also queue for custom servers too, which can have all sorts of crazy shit happening. So it's not like it takes away from the player base. The whole point is to get more people to launch Dead by Daylight every day. If there was a custom server option, modders would honestly make a better game than DBD in a couple of months. But the point is, you enable so many new things to happen with the engine of the game, because the base engine of the game and the powers and stuff like that can allow for so many silly things. There can be Huntress 1v1s, there can be hillbilly surf maps, there can be like a Coliseum mode where spectators watch a 1v1 happen. There could be like, there's so many things that you can do in this game. with the engine and the characters and the perks that it already has, that it would be just so incredibly fun to allow the community to come up with stuff to maybe make up for what the devs don't want to focus on. And again, I can't think of a single way this hurts the player base of the game. Yes, it will take players away from the standard queue, so you would think, oh, my queues are going to be longer now because now half the players are playing, Hillbilly Surf Maps or something. But you have to take into account it would also bring players back to begin with. More people would launch the game and stay playing the game, so it would offset that. I'm 100% sure the queues would not be any different. Because that's the thing, like, if you have a couple of bad matches in a row as Killer or Survivor, what do? You just close the game and do something else. What if instead of closing the game, you decide, I'm going to go play, the Deathslinger FPS mode or something like that. And just to do something crazier, like a 2v8 mode or just something like any other game inside the already existing DBD would be so, so incredibly fun. And that's the best part. The devs don't have to do anything. Fuck, they could sell servers to people. They could make more money off of that if they wanted to. It doesn't hurt them in any way. It will gain them more money, more players that buy microtransactions, more players that pay for servers, more players. Like, there is zero downside to them doing that. I cannot imagine it would be that much effort to add because, I've seen this happen in a bunch of games. It's not an incredibly alien concept to have custom servers that allow whatever you want. Again, it wouldn't affect the main game mode, but allowing custom servers, I think, would single-handedly save the game from ever dying, ever. It would be like Left 4 Dead now, which still has 30,000 players after fucking 80 years or however long the game's been out. I cannot imagine Dead by Daylight would ever die if we had a custom server option. So I think that's the safest thing that they could do. And the best part is it doesn't really require effort on their part because I know the modding community. I've already seen videos of the modding community making 2v8s, making prop hunts, making, big head mode, making like just all this silly shit. I've already seen it. They've already done it without modding tools. Like, could you imagine how much easier it would be if we actually had the infrastructure to do that? The game would never die. So that's my honest, safe answer there. If they want the game to never, ever die, add custom servers. It won't impact their game at all. It'll only help. It'll only make them money. There is zero downsides to doing it. So that's what I would love to see. The alternative is they add a new gameplay mechanic themselves, and that will sustain the player base for some time. But I think they really need to think about the true future-proofing of the game and allow custom servers. I can't think of anything better than that. Otherwise, I don't think a new killer, a new map, and a couple of Survivor perks are going to be enough to keep the game from losing players every couple of months now. Now, we could have a new exciting chapter. Let's say the anniversary update is Alien or something huge. That'll bring a boost of players back again. But the whole point, I'm thinking long term. It's not going to be retained because after you play Alien for a bunch of games and you use the perks, you're still doing the same shit every game with a couple of new coats of paint. And I think that core system needs to change or have an option to have separate modes if the game were to not ever die. But that's about it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.